Hi guys, hope you all are staying safe and indoors. I am Shruti and I also have my friends Sumi and Charul. We are from Mozilla Campus Club and today we are going to conduct a workshop. So let's get started. Coding is everywhere in the modern world, like in a house, streets, in any shop, and probably in your hands right now, your mobile phones. The apps and websites we use are all built by code written in different platforms. Our topic for today is C++. C++ is a programming language which began as an expanded version of C. It was developed by Jan. This language was not directly called C++. Earlier, it was called C with classes and later renamed as C++. But the question is, what was the need of C++? In 1970s, C was one of the most used and popular language. Even today, C is one of the most famous language. But C programming has its own limitations. It was difficult to write the complex code in C. So the team created the new language called C with classes using object-oriented principles. C++ runs on a lot of platforms like Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. Let's have a look on features of C++. As we have already seen, it is object-oriented. It is simple and easy for human to read. Platform independent, where we can write a code anywhere and run it in different environments also. Mid-level programming language. This language is used to write both system programming like operating systems and also for application programming. It is structured, means that it is used to solve massive programs by dividing into different parts called the functions. It has a very rich library. It has memory management. It is powerful and fast. It uses pointers. It is compiler based, means that the code is in human readable form, but a machine can only read in 0 1, that is binary form. So we write the code and the compiler converts it into machine readable form. This process is called compilation. It is syntax based. Let's have a look on a basic program in C++. The first line says hash tag include iostream.h. It is a header file that let us work on input and output using namespace std. This is used to add names for object and variable from the standard library. Int main. This is a function. Execution of a program starts from main. It is followed by a curly bracket and the program also ends with a curly bracket. If any of the curly bracket is missing, then it is an error. Then for output we have cout followed by two less than signs. If we want to print any statement, then that statement should be under double quotes. For instance, we have here cout, in double quotes we have hello world, and it is followed by a semicolon. Remember that every sentence should end with a semicolon. The semicolon helps the compiler to understand that a line of code ends here. Return 0. It means the end of our function. Let's run this code in our online compiler. I've already written this code in an online compiler. Now let's run it. Okay, so we get the output as hello world. Now let's do some changes and add another cout. Like we want to print hi, and let's run it. So we see that hello world and hi both are combined, but no, we want them in different lines. So what we'll do, we'll write \n at the end of hello world and then run it. So now we see that hello world and hi are in different lines. When we write C++ program, we want to use data and even change or modify them. So we need to store them, which is stored in a variable. Different types of variable used are int, double, char, string, Boolean. Let's look at their examples. Int n is equals to 10. This means it is used to store integer values. Double m is equals to 1.22. It stores decimal values. Char letter is equals to with a single quotes s. It stores character value. Whenever we assign a value to char, remember that it should be under single quotes. String text is equals to hello world. Whenever we store a value to string, it is under double quotes. Bool value true, which is a boolean value either true or false. There are three types of data types: primitive data type, derived data type, abstract or user-defined data types. Primitive is the built-in or predefined data types which are directly used by the user to declare the variable. The examples we have already seen as int, char, double, boolean, string. Derived data types. These are derived from the primitive or built-in data types. Examples are function, array, etc. Abstract or user-defined data types. These are defined by the user itself, like our classes or our structures. These are the data types and their size in bytes. Int has 2 or 4 bytes, float has 4 bytes, double has 8 bytes, char has 1, bool has 1, void, which is empty, has 0. Some naming convention should be followed on naming a variable, like names can contain letter, digits, and underscore. Name must begin with a letter or underscore. Names are case sensitive, like small var and caps var are different names. Names cannot contain white space and special characters. Reserved word cannot be used as can be no, cannot be used in names. Reserved words like your int, new, etc. Now let's have a look on another simple program, in which we have to actually find this sum of two numbers. Let's write this program in our online compiler. It's hash include iostream dot h using namespace std in main int p q and sum. We can initialize all of them as 1. Now we want to print a message that cout enter two numbers. Okay. Then how to take the input? Cin again followed by two greater than signs. P Cn again we want to input our q. Now we will write sum is equals to p plus q. See, every sentence is followed by a semicolon. Now we'll write cout. We want to print our sum, so cout will be followed by sum. Now we actually want to differentiate, like it should be a new line, so new line. Okay, and next last return 0. Let's run this program. Enter two numbers, which is for example 4 and 7. So the sum is 11. So far we have seen the history of C++, why to use C++, features, a basic program, variables and data types, and naming conventions used. Thus we can say that C++ is an efficient language, reliable and fast, and from this we can have a better understanding of OOPS. Now after this, my friend Sumi will continue.
Now we will understand about control structure in C++. Okay. Control structure are just a way to specify flow of control in programs. Like if we execute any program, then that is usually not limited to a linear sequence of instructions. During its process, it may repeat code or take decisions. So it basically analyzes and chooses in which direction a program flows based on certain parameters or conditions. So these parameters and conditions are provided by us in code. Control structures are basically of three types, which is sequential structure and also known as sequence logic or sequential flow, and selection structure, which is also known as selection logic or conditional flow, iteration structure, which is also known as iteration logic or repetitive flow. These are control structures like for loop, while loop, do while loop. So for loop, while loop and do while loop is come under uh, a repetitive structure, which is also known as iterative structure. If else and else if statement come under conditional structure, or also switch, break, continue comes under conditional structure. Now, sequential logic. The sequence structure is built into C++. Sequential logic, which is also known as sequence structure, refers to the line-by-line execution by which statements are executed sequentially in the same order in which they appear in the program. So, unless directed otherwise, C++ statements execute one after the other in the order in which they are written, that is in sequence. So, like if we write any program in this order, module A, then module B, then module C. So the program will be executed according to module A first, then module B, and then module C. Now, selection logic. The logic that make decision in C++ program are called selection logics. When a decision is made in a program, a selection controls the flow of the program based on the decisions in your program. Selection structure are how C++ programs make decisions. So these are like conditional structures. Here first the code will see conditions provided. So conditional structure are of three types: if statement, if else statement, and else if statement. So if statement, like you will provide a condition here, you will provide a condition, and if that condition is true, then the block of the code you write here will be executed, and if the condition provided is false, then the block of code provided will not execute. So use if to specify a block of code to be executed if a specified condition is true. Now let us code using if statement. See, here we first provide a condition here: if 20 is greater than 18. So is this statement true? Is this condition true? Yeah, this condition is true. So it will execute this code. Now let us run it. Yeah, this statement was true. So it executed this code. 20 is greater than 18. Now let us see if it was not true. So it didn't execute anything because this condition was not true. Okay. Now, if else statement. This is the statement. Use the else statement to specify a block of code to be executed if the condition is false. Here, we will provide one condition. If this condition is true, then the block of code written here will be executed. And if this condition was not true, then the block of code written here will be executed. Now let us see using this statement we will code here. See here, let's just provide true condition and then else. Cout 20 is not greater than 18 and semicolon. Remember, always put semicolon. So this statement was true, so it executed this code. Now if this statement is false, so this is condition was false, so it executed this code, else wala part. Okay. Now else if statement. Use the else if statement to specify a new condition if the first condition is false. So this is the syntax. If, then condition 1. If condition 1 will be true, then the block of code written here will be executed first. Only block of code written here will be executed. And else if. So if this condition will be true, second condition. So if this condition will be true, then the block of code written here will be executed. And if both of these conditions will be false, then block of code written here will be executed. So let us see using code. Yeah. See, here we take a variable time of type integer and we declare it 2022. 22, sorry. If then condition 1, time is less than 10. So 22 is not less than 10. Here this condition is false. And if this condition will be true, then it will execute good morning. And if time declared will be less than 20, then it will execute good afternoon. And if both of these condition will false, then it will execute good evening. Now let us see which code will be executed. So good evening. So this statement is executed because both of these conditions were false. Now if we change the value and put 15 instead of 22, then let us see what is the output. So good afternoon, because it is greater than 10 and less than 20. Now let us see one more time using 9. So this statement was true because time is less than 10. So 9 is less than 10. So this statement is executed good morning. Okay. Now let us see. Now iteration logic. This is also known as repetitive flow. The iteration logic employs a loop which involves a repeat statement followed by a module known as the body of a loop. So it iterate a code like more than one time, 0 time, where 100 time. So we use this structure when we have to execute any statement more than 100 times, more than 500 times. So just to avoid any complex or any difficult programming, we use this loop. So iteration loop are of 3 types. Iteration structures are of 3 types: for loop, while loop and do while loop. Now for loop. When you know exactly how many times you want to loop through a block of code. So if you know how many times you have to execute any statement, any code, then you should use for loop. So syntax of the for loop is this. For statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and then the code block to be executed. Here, statement 1 is executed one time before the execution of the code block, and statement 2 defines the condition for executing the code block, and statement 3 is executed every time after the code block has been executed. So let us see by code. Here, for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, and then I plus plus. फिर cout I, and then inline, then return 0. Now run this. So this example shows that if we use for, then it executed for here. Sorry. Then, yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here statement 1 sets a variable before the loop starts, which is int I is equal to 0. And statement 2 defines the condition for the loop to run. So I must be less than 5. If the condition is true, the loop will start over again, and if it is false, the loop will end. So it end here. It end when 5 when I is equal to 5. So it iterate until I is equal to 5, and then statement 3 increases the value I plus plus each time the code block in the loop has been executed. Okay, so you understand these three statements. Now let us see while loop. While loop. The while loop loops through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. This is the syntax. While condition. Then if this condition is true, then the code block to be executed. Let us see using code. See, we first declare a variable I of type int is equal to 0 while I is less than 5. If when I is less than 5, cout I and then I plus plus. Let us run it. So here when I become 5, it stop. So until I become 5, it iterate a loop 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now let us see do while loop. The do while loop is a variant of the while loop. This loop will execute the code block once before checking if the condition is true. So it will not check the condition is true at least once. It will execute the code block. So then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. The do, and then it will execute this block, and then it will check the condition. And when the condition becomes false, it will stop the block to execute code. Okay, now let us see using compiler. So int I is equal to 0, then do cout I plus plus. So it will not check here if I is in this condition, if I is less than 5. So it will execute at least once, and see, let us see using run. And yeah, never forget this. Always remember to increase the variable used in the condition. Otherwise the loop will never end. So it is very important. So here when I become 5, this loop stops. Okay, so do while loop is only for when you have to execute a program at least once. Okay, okay. Now Charul will take over.
Hi everyone, I am going to explain about break and continue statement and switch case in C++. So in the last topic we learned about loops, and now we know that loops are used to repeat a certain process some number of times. But what if we can control the way our loop operates? So in C++ we can jump out or to the starting condition of the loop whenever we want. And we do this with the help of break and continue statements. Now we already have some idea about statements, so let us see what is a break statement. Break is used to terminate a loop whenever we want. We just have to type break after the statement after which we want to break the loop. So basically this statement is used to terminate the loop. Let's understand this more clearly with the help of an example. I have taken a program in which I am using for loop to print hash symbol 5 times. So in this, first we have declared our variable n, and then we have applied for loop. We have initialized the value of our variable to 1 initially, and then we have applied our condition that n should be less than equal to 5, and then we have given our increment operator, post increment operator n plus plus. While this loop operates, we want to print our hash symbol, that is why we have given it in cout statement. And then we have applied one if condition that when n is equals to 3, we want to break the loop. That means according to this program, what should be the output of our program? There should be 3 hash symbols printed. Why? Because in the first iteration of the loop, as 1 is less than 5, so the for loop condition is checked, and also the if condition is false. So hash will get printed and n plus plus increases the value of n to 2. Now again hash gets printed in the second iteration. And why does this happen? Because again our n will become 2 from increased, initially our value is 1 and n plus plus will increase the value to 2. So when the second iteration will occur, 2 is again less than 5. So our for loop condition is checked, and also our 2 is not equals to 3 according to our if condition. So our program will not terminate and hash will again get printed. But after the third iteration, our for loop will terminate because our if condition, that is n equal to 3, will become true, and at that instant we want to terminate the loop. So now I will run this program and show you the output. See, 3 hash symbols are printed for the first iteration, second iteration, and after performing the third iteration, our loop will terminate. Now I will discuss about continue statement. So in computer programming, the continue statement is used to skip the current iteration of the loop, and the control of the program goes to the next iteration. So in this, if we want to skip one of the iteration, we don't want the result to be printed for that iteration, we can do this. We can skip that iteration and go to the next iteration. Let us understand this more clearly through an example. In this, I have used a while loop to print numbers from 1 to 9. And we have applied one if condition at n equal to 5. So first of all, again, we have initialized our n variable as 1, and then we have applied our while loop. We want its value to be less than 10, and if n equals to 5, we want to increment the value of our n by 1, and we have applied the continue statement. That means we want to skip this iteration. That is, when n equals to 5, we want to skip this iteration. We don't want to print the value of n at this moment, and we want our program to move to the next iteration. As we can see, we have included the cout statement in the while loop, but we have not included the cout statement in our if loop, if statement, if condition. So I will explain you this more clearly through an example. I will run the program. So this is our program. Let us see the output of this. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 is skipped, 6, 7, 8, 9. And why 10 is not printed? Because here there is no equal to sign. We want our n to be less than 10, not less than equal to. So in the above example, notice that n equal to 5 is not printed. Because the value of n becomes 5, the if condition becomes true, and the statements in the body of if statement get executed. Thus, n equal to n plus 1 increases the value of n to 6. This statement, n equal to n plus 1, increases the value to 6. And continue statement passes the control to the test condition, and the rest of the statements are not executed. That is, cout n equal to this statement is not executed. This statement, then again the iteration starts and the numbers get printed from 6 onwards. So I hope you understood this program. Let us move on to the next topic, that is our switch case. Switch case is another way to control and decide the execution of statements other than if-else. This is used when we are given a number of choices and we want to perform a different task for each choice. Let us first have a look at the syntax of switch case statement. So we use switch case in place of if-else, because using if-else again and again, if there are many conditions in our program, so again using if-else for each condition, it is not a very effective method. It creates a lengthy program. So for that we are using switch case. If we look at the syntax of switch case, switch expression, case constant 1, statements, break. Case constant 2, statements, break. You can give any number of cases, default, statements. Let us understand what the syntax of this switch case means. The value of expression enclosed within the brackets following switch is checked. That means what we are checking in our cases. For example, we have case 1, case 2, case 3. So what we are switching? We are switching between the cases. So that is the value of our expression. If the value of the expression matches the value of constant in any of the case, the statement corresponding to that case are executed. Suppose we have three cases, case constant 1, case constant 2 and case constant 3. So we write like case 1, case 2, case 3, and I want to switch between them. So in place of expression, I will give any of the three values, 1, 2 or 3. So suppose if I give value 2, so the statements corresponding to the case constant 2 will execute. If expression does not match any of the constant values, then the statement corresponding to default are executed. Okay, if suppose I enter 4, so I doesn't have the case 4, I don't have case 4, so the default statements will be printed. Okay, now let us have a look at an example. In this, we have initialized our variable grade and we have given the value of grade as b. And see, here in place of expressions, we are using grade because we want to switch between grades. Now we have given case A, this is our case constant, and this is our statement in our case constant A. The statement is, cout statement is excellent. So if your grade is A, you are excellent. Then if your grade is B, you are good. If your grade is C, you can do better. And if your grade is D, you failed. And if you have any other grade, then invalid grade, that will be considered as invalid grade. So let us understand this with the help of an example. I will run the program and I will show you. So we have entered B. So the output should be good. Let's see. Yes, our output is good. So basically switch case is used when we have to apply lot of conditions in our program and we want to perform a different task for each choice. Using if-else in this case will not be an effective method as our program will become very lengthy. So now in this, the value of grade is B. Since the value of the constant of the first case is not B, so case B will not be executed and good will be printed. The break statement will terminate the switch statement without checking the rest of the cases. Okay, we are using break statement here after every case because we want to break the loop. As our first A value will be checked. So as we are entering B, so A will not be printed. Then our program will move to B. Then it will check for this case. Yes, here the value matches with our value. So this good will be printed. So this is how it works. If we do not use break statement after any case, so all the statements after case B will be printed. Suppose if we remove break, then all the statements will be printed. Let me show you. So now let us run the program. See, after good, can do better, you failed, invalid grade. Because now we have removed our break statement, so all the statements after our good statement will be printed. Now if I enter some other value, suppose I enter D, and then I run. So now you failed an invalid grade. If suppose I enter some other value, which is not in our case, so invalid grade. So like this our switch case works. In this example also, if you want to try some other value, suppose n equal to 3, suppose we want to skip our third iteration. That means we don't want to print the value of 3. So let us see what happens. See, our value of 3, n equal to 3 has been skipped. This is done by using continue statement. And again, if we see the break statement, we can try some other value. Suppose we use 4 and now we run. So 4 hash symbols are printed here. That means our for loop will terminate after the fourth iteration. So this is all about this video.